Today we're reviewing the Old Fitz decanter bottle. Specifically, this is the 11 year from the fall of 2024. Now this is absolutely one of the most gorgeous bottles in whiskey, but does the whiskey inside live up to its looks? Let's find out. Welcome back to the Bourbon Retriever, and today we are reviewing a special bottle. You know from the thumbnail and the intro, but it is the Old Fitz, the 11 year from the Heaven Hill Distillery. A little bit of backstory history on this bottle. It used to be developed by Pappy Van Winkle himself at the Fitzgerald Distillery, but it's changed hands a few times, and now it is at Heaven Hill. It is a wheated mash bill product, so it's typically on the sweeter side. It doesn't have a secondary grain of like rye or malted barley, which you'll find in most bourbons. But don't buy these bottles today thinking you're going to taste anything similar to the Stitzel back in the day that Pappy made. They use a much different entry proof today. It's a much higher entry proof. And who knows, I don't know if they got the yeast or even the mash bill from them. A lot of times when these places, when they buy labels, is really just the brand that you're buying. So all the Old Fitzes are bottle and bonds. A little shortcut for you out there who may not be as familiar with that, but basically a bottle and bond, it has to be from one distillery. So here it's from Heaven Hill. It is in one distilling season. Heaven Hill releases this twice a year, one in the fall, one in the spring for traditional distillery seasons. I actually think I have the other one. The fall one is black, but the spring one here is green. There's another one, it is a red one, but this is for their, what they call very, very special. I know, very original, but it's in this red tint for just kind of one-off releases at the distillery. Now, the other two requirements to be a bottle and bond bourbon is it has to be from a bonded warehouse, and they have to go into the bottle at 100 proof. So all these Old Fitzes, they might have different years on them, but they're all gonna be at 100 proof. Now, traditionally, Old Fitz charged about $10 a year for the price of these bottles. So that means this one should have been like roughly around like $110. However, I don't know if it's because of inflation or for other reasons, but this year they released this at $150. Now, before I jump into the review, if you're enjoying this content, hit that subscribe button. That way you don't miss any content I put out in the future. So I have to give my good friend a big shout out. Oh my gosh, I forgot how hard these things are to open. These have to be probably the hardest whiskey to open in the bourbon game. Gosh, okay, give me a second here. I also want to be delicate with this because this is a friend's bottle and I don't want to mess up the tax stamp here too much, but this is an absolute beast to open. Yeah, I have to stand up here, get my like a little bit of force in here. I don't know if this guy like super glued this thing shut. Okay, there we go, man. Or maybe I just need to go to the gym. I don't know, that could very well be what it is. But I'll continue my story here. I have to give a shout out to my friend. This hit my local area in a drop. It actually hit on a snow day, and my car is not really snow worthy. It's a small little sedan, so it just couldn't handle the snow that well. But he was able to get this on that day, and thank him for letting me try it for the review today. Before I put this cork back on, I just gotta show you why this thing is so hard to open. And it is just the absolute like girth and length of this cork. Like this is probably twice the size of any other cork I've ever used, and it's also pretty heavy, but it is an absolutely like behemoth of a cork. All right, there we go, back in. All right, well, without that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into the review. Okay, right off the bat, you get very traditional bourbon notes. You get that nice crisp caramel. You definitely tell it's a wheater. It's very, I don't want to say smooth, but it's nice and light, kind of buttery. Not harsh in your face like you would get like maybe from a rye or a malted barley secondary grain. Yeah, this just reminds me of like a sunny day outside. That's kind of a weird tasty note, but yeah, just a nice summer day out in the yards, having a nice day, maybe 4th of July. Yeah, I don't know why that's bringing a memory to my nose. Yeah, I wouldn't describe that overly complex though. Just nice traditional bourbon notes there with that wheat that you normally would typically get on this, like very much what you're expecting. But let's go ahead and jump into the palate and see if it translates. Okay, the first thing you get on your tongue is almost like you took like a drop of honey and just kind of topped in the middle of your tongue. And then the finish kind of turns into this like salty black pepper. I don't know, yeah, it's like a mixture of those two because you get just the saltiness, brininess in there in the back end with this like kind of spice from the pepper, kind of Pop Rocks-esque on the back end there. Yeah, very similar to me, like how like maybe a Scotch, I get a Scotch finish on this. Very light, delicate. That's probably why I said like salty and briny, because those are the notes I typically get when I drink Scotches. But the front end is like completely the opposite. It's like very buttery, not like a cream viscosity you might get in tasting notes, but it's much more like buttery. When it gets to the mid palate, it does get a little bit watery. That's probably why I go into like kind of brine note in my brain. There's like a little bit of water there, and it doesn't have the flavor that goes with the water. That's why it kind of feels in my mouth kind of light. You don't really have that flavor that's going with the alcohol. Yeah, to be honest with you guys, I'm not really enjoying this pour. I think if this was in any other bottle, I would probably think it's closer to like a value type bottle. It does have that 11-year age statement, but I'm not sure this really drinks like an 11-year product. I would probably guess maybe it's like closer to like a 25 or under price bottle. Like it'd be very interesting to do a blind with this with like Russell's 10. I think Russell's 10 would beat this. Eagle Rare 10 will 100% beat it. But I think it might all just be my profile. I like the more oaky or grape notes you get from that. What else is there? Like the Knob Creek 9, I think the Knob Creek 9, the $35 proofer, would beat this bottle. You know, it would be very interesting to try this with. I wish I had it on me, but the Heaven Hill 7-year bottle and bond, I think that would be a very interesting blind to do with this. The age statements are a little off. It's like 4 years off, but they're both bottle and bonds, both from Heaven Hill. But I think that 7-year Heaven Hill might be better than this batch of 11-year. Okay, so let's jump into my final thoughts on this bottle. Is it worth that $150 price tag? No. I would not recommend people to buy this one. If you don't own an Old Fitz, I don't blame you for getting it because it does look magnificent on your shelf. Like if you just have this on your shelf, people think that you're a sophisticated whiskey drinker because this is kind of what people in their mind think of what a whiskey bottle decanter should look like. But I'd recommend you hold off and see if you can find one of the other Old Fitzes. Some of the older ones, like the 17 and 19-year ones, I personally enjoyed. Or if you can find this 13-year Old Fitz, this was a really good Old Fitz, but this 11-year just doesn't quite live up to the same standards as these. But outside of my recommendation to pass on this bottle, I would also pass on a bar pour of this because there's nothing super special about it, and it's gonna cost you a pretty penny at the bar to try it, and you're gonna just be, I think, underwhelmed by the pour. But if you're someone who is just getting into whiskey and is a newbie, I could understand why you might really enjoy this bottle because there's not a lot of alcohol to it because it is a 100 proof whiskey. It's light. It's not gonna blow your face off with a ton of different flavors going on. A lot of people can be intimidated by very pungent, strong flavored whiskey. So I can understand if you're on that front why you might enjoy this bottle, but this bottle is just not for me and not one that I can recommend. That's my review of the Old Fitz 11-year. But if you're enjoying this content for you, check out the video and hit the subscribe button. This should be somewhere around here. But until next time, I'll see you guys.